Hey there everyone, I'm actually hoping to be skipping the non-Smash fact for today, since I really want to focus on retconning some things from my last video. First is the fact I mentioned regarding the healing field, saying that the CPU heals slower. While technically correct, as many of you told me, the reason why they're healing slow isn't just because they're a CPU, but because it's not their healing field. Notice how there's a red arrow here at the center of the healing field. This indicates that it is indeed owned by player 1. So if the CPU were to throw the healing field, then they will be the ones who heal 2% at a time, with Toon Link healing 1%. So it just matters on who throws it, not whether or not they're a computer. One thing that is interesting though is in regards to teammates. Note that past videos covered the idea that the CPUs in training mode are considered to be somewhat on a team. If Wii Fit throws the healing field here, and then their teammate Wii Fit is the one who steps in, they'll heal 2% at a time, much like the owner of the healing field would. So it seems this bonus effect carries over to teammates, and of course Toon Link still only heals 1%. However, if both the original healing field owner and the teammate are in there, their healing rate seems to drop from 2% to 1.9%. I have no idea why it would drop, or rather, I don't know why it would drop so little, if at all, but it does seem to happen, and only if both the owner of the healing field and their teammate are in there at the same time. So that's pretty weird, but cool. Given this, my fact about the healing sprout could have been skewed, since each character picked up their own healing sprout, but I see that the item doesn't actually change its healing rate whether someone picks it up, or it gets thrown onto their face, or any of that. And distance thrown does not seem to affect it either. We'll go a bit more into that type of thing later in the video. I had taken the fact submission at face value, and when I saw confirmation of it, I didn't really look further into it. Not blaming anyone else on that at all, just stating where I went wrong there. I should have tested it more. And lastly, but more importantly, is the thing about using Ridley's side B infinitely. I had come to the conclusion that doing it infinitely wouldn't be possible, since the assist trophies end up despawning eventually. But right after I uploaded the video, Burbo found out that you can do the same thing with the sandbag, which doesn't actually end up despawning. And if you just turn off hazards, the enemies will not spawn. And yes, I was very much aware of this fact, but it was just hardly the reason why I had originally thought that this whole thing was impossible, so that's why I didn't really focus on it that much. So using the sandbag, and with no hazards on this stage, Ridley can side B forever. To be frank, I am really disappointed in myself for not thinking to test the sandbag here, especially since this conclusion is a lot more satisfying than the one I went over in my last video. I try to think of as many things to test out regarding your submissions as I can, but some days I'm less creatively active than others. I'm not gonna throw a pity party or anything pathetic like that, but I did just want to clarify all of this for everyone, since the last thing I want is to keep misinformation spreading around if I can help it. So thank you for putting up with me. For now though, PogChamp has given me a really good fact regarding fire-based moves and frozen opponents. The fact they gave me is that fire doesn't affect ice in this game. But is that really the case? So I wanted to test this out. At first I decided to just play it by ear. I did a fully charged PK freeze against Ness at 25% who didn't mash. Then I did the same thing but threw in a PK fire, and I noticed that Ness seemed to get out of the PK freeze much quicker. But assuming that was the case, I would have to then ask, would Ness get out quicker because of the fire? Or because it's just damage? So I did another test, but simply had Lucas use a forward smash instead of PK fire. So let's look at all of these three tests together. What it seems to me is that PK fire did end up making Ness pop out of the PK freeze much quicker. It wasn't immediate, but it seemed to at least decrease the freeze time. Whereas with the forward smash test, we see that it actually took a little bit longer for him to pop out compared to our control group. And I imagine this is just due to hit stun or something like that. Regardless, it tells us that the knockback or damage alone aren't the reason why PK Fire increases the speed in which Ness broke out of the PK Freeze. I tested this on other items too, like the Fire Flower, the Hothead, and the Fire Bar. And it seems that while the effectiveness varies between the items, they all still thaw Ness out quicker than normal. So despite what PogChamp said, I believe that fire does affect ice in some way, at least a little bit. Now in Smash 4, this was a little bit different. You see on screen a tweet of mine from over 2 years ago. It's old footage and content, I know, since I don't have access to Smash 4 right now, but it shows what I want to say, so please tolerate Twitter's terrible quality. And let's watch this combo real quick. See, in Smash 4, fire-based moves didn't just decrease the rate in which one stays frozen, it outright thawed them out, immediately. Here, I used PK Fire to force Rob out at a very specific time for the combo. So I guess they just sort of adjusted this type of mechanic in Ultimate to be less powerful, but still somewhat present. Now, this next one by Burning Light was submitted a long time ago, and it's a pretty small fact, but I still want to go over it. As we should know, the Alolan Whip is a command grab, right? But you've probably never seen anyone mash out of it. Well, that's because the only part of the move that's really a grab is this beginning animation right here, right before he throws the opponent into the ropes. And this is a very short moment. However, it is still possible to mash out. If you make the speed in training mode be 1/4, then mash like crazy when you get grabbed, you'll be able to escape the Alolan Whip before Incineroar chucks you into the ropes. However, I was never able to get this to happen at higher speeds, even at 999%. However, if Incineroar gets slowed down by a timer or something, and he uses Alolan Whip, then you can mash out very reasonably, just like we saw earlier. Though this isn't the best advice, since if Incineroar is slow, it's impossible for him to get anything other than the failed variant of the move, and if that happens, it leaves you with more than enough time to punish him in return. But I guess this could be useful if you both end up slowed down or something. This is more food for thought anyways though, so let's move on. Aaron Slaps You asks if rising up throws can be affected by wind boxes. Instead of making this more difficult for myself by using Mario's Flood, I decided to just use the Gust Bellows, and in this test it didn't seem that Kirby's up throw was affected at all by the wind. I wasn't totally satisfied with this though, so I decided to go a bit bigger. Meaning, of course, I made a custom stage that was large and full of fast moving wind. And in here, we can see that Kirby and Mario land at a very slightly different spot than normal. It's not much considering how fast the throw is, but they do get moved by the wind. So I shortened the length of the ground itself, and when I use the up throw at the ledge here, yeah, they slam into some invisible ground. Not so different from when Kirby uses his back throw by the ledge. Disappointing, but I didn't really expect much else. And I tested it with the other similar throws that I could think of, and the functionality seems to be the same as Kirby with Meta Knight and Charizard. Though, however, I didn't notice K. Rool get moved by the wind at all. And Incineroar does get moved by the wind, but it's so brief that it's hard to see any effect, and when I alter the stage a lot, it seems he'll just stick to the ledge, despite being moved by the wind. And lastly, with Rob, yeah, actually, you will go off stage. This is actually not an uncommon thing to see, too, at least in doubles. But yeah, for some reason, Rob is the only character whose special lift throw actually behaves in a cool way like this. Sad, but at least it does something. Though while I'm here, I did want to test other stuff out. First is portals. It seems that rising up throw will go through the portals here, though the same thing occurs and Kirby just slams it to some invisible floor. However, for some reason, I decided to see what happens if you just keep a gigantic web of portals going and have the up throw go through that. And Kirby and Mario end up getting KO'd, right? It's hard to see though since the camera doesn't zoom out during this type of throw, but if we go into the camera and go frame by frame, we can see that Kirby clearly ends up going all the way down to the blast zone, and he even ignores the final portal for some reason. But regardless, I guess with how much the portals are spacing out the timing of the up throw's ascent, it might ruin the timing of the slam too, or something like that. Oh, and you can also cause the throw to KO you both if you set the exit portal right next to the bottom blast zone, so that's pretty neat. And to wrap up this section, I tested the cannon, and the throw just gets cancelled with Kirby going into it. And to combine the wind fact from earlier, I tested the spring, and if the spring is in the air, Kirby seems to ignore it, I think. But if you just put the spring where Kirby lands, it seems to cancel the throw. While we're speaking of stage builder stuff, in my last video I had created an infinite portal setup for that fact about Chrome's up special. So I guess this is technically also a recap, but I did want to add this, since Meme Boy Awakened had asked what happens if you use Kirby's Rock in this same setup. Before I get into it, for reference, when you normally use Kirby's Rock, he can only stay in it for so long before he's automatically forced out of the move. But when I ended up going through the portals, Kirby stayed in his rock form forever, not ever being forced out of it like when he's landed on the ground with the move. But I was kinda curious to see if the move would stale by hitting Mario over and over again in this state. However, after Mario got hit once, I found that he just couldn't get hit by the rock again. It's sort of like how Link's spin attack only hits someone once, and the rest of the move won't bother them afterwards. So I guess the rock can only hit an opponent once while it's falling, something that you usually can't see for obvious reasons. Last video I only tested this with spike up specials like Chroms or Ikes, so I do want to test some other moves that sort of just slam down. Yoshi's ground pound doesn't slow down when going forever, but it does last forever. And like Yoshi's rock, it seems it can only hit an opponent once. Bowser's down special seems to share the same qualities as Yoshi's ground pound, lasts forever, doesn't slow down, and can only hit an opponent once. Though with the Bowser bomb, it seems that it acts just like a normal command grab, in that after a while, Mario just naturally mashes out of it. However, contrary to the Alolan Whip fact I went over earlier, it doesn't seem that you can mash out of the Bowser bomb at low speeds, even if you're at the highest possible percent. So I guess when Mario gets let go here, that's more of just a limit of the move itself, and not just automatic mashing. But I digress. It's worth noting that the meteor down airs, akin to Toon Links, don't actually last forever, or even that long at all, so I won't be testing them here, since there's no reason to. Finally, with Hero's Kuklang, the spell actually doesn't last forever. It eventually fades away, even in the air. But it does share the same property as the other moves I mentioned, in that if you get hit by it once while it's falling, you can't get hit by it again. Hey there, I'm late into the editing process, so my mic quality is terrible and my recording area is terrible. But I just need to add that, since I just remembered recently. Look at this character selection screen that is found in the stage builder testing area. You notice how someone's missing? Yeah, the Miis. So I did forget the Miis originally when testing this for that very reason, but I did end up going and testing them afterwards, and in order to save time in the video, I'll just say that the suplex move, that's sort of like a command grab, it does end up lasting forever, and the opponent can't automatically mash out, or mash out at all from what I saw. And that one up B or down B move, whatever you see on screen, it's unique from the other moves in that it can hit multiple times, not just once. So yeah, there you go. Now I spent a long time going over miscellaneous stage builder facts, and usually I don't spend so much time on such a similar topic, but I hope the information that was covered felt interesting and varied enough for y'all. Lastly, Aaron the Paypoga Lord has given me a very interesting fact regarding Gooey Bomb's damage output. Normally in these standard training mode settings, the Gooey Bomb will do precisely 31.2%, whether it be from detonating while stuck to an opponent, it just blowing up naturally, being blown up by an attack, or anything. And whether or not you smash throw the Gooey Bomb onto the opponent doesn't matter, as once it's been stuck onto them, it'll deal 31.2%. However, if you throw the bomb at DK, but the bomb detonates in the air before it attaches to DK, it'll deal 39.8%. And as hard as the timing is, if you smash throw it and it detonates in the air, it'll do 43.2% total. To compare the power, normally the Gooey Bomb will start KOing at around 60%ish. However, if you smash throw it and it detonates in the air, it'll start KOing at around 25%, over twice as powerful. Aaron and I both believe that this may be some sort of bug, or an oversight, that makes it so the Gooey Bomb's power scales with the speed in which it's going. This may be because of the Bob-Omb, in that the Bob-Omb deals more damage the faster it's thrown. Z dropping it deals 34.3%, while smash throwing it deals 40.3%, and just detonating it while it's idle deals 30%. So it's possible that this code of scaling with speed was carried over to the Gooey Bomb, but since the Gooey Bomb very frequently gets attached to someone or something before exploding, and thus becomes idle, the power is usually seen as the same. So if you want to make the most of this weapon, try to time it to where it detonates in the air near an opponent, but before actually attaching to them. It's really convoluted and difficult, but cool nonetheless. Anyhow, that'll do it for today's video. I'd like to thank my patrons Avenkaru, Burbo, Cody Benda, Felipe Morla, Elpidio Epic, Feurolant, Dino, PinkieOats, and Aman Shareef. I don't really have too much to say for wrap up today. I just hope y'all enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel to see more. I'm inching my way closer to 100,000 subscribers, so if you could help me reach that goal, that would be ever so appreciated. That is, assuming you like the video, or the series as a whole, of course. I'm not gonna force anyone. I'll just try to keep improving on this series and this channel in general, the longer I keep doing this all, so I'd like to thank y'all for sticking with me. And stay casual, and I'll see you later.